your book, which has been out for a little bit now, how do you feel about it? And having written it in retrospect, because I find when I talk to people who write memoirs like you did, they, when they're out a little bit, they sink in, people read them, they get reaction from their audience. They sit there and sort of process it a little bit more after they get a little distance from it. How do you feel about your book? Are you happy with how it came out? Are there things you wish you would have put in that you didn't, or vice versa?
Uh, I had that time to really digest what I was going to put in the book because I had gone through so many co-authors that weren't getting it right. So I did have that time to digest the book as I do my songs. I do the same thing with my music. I live with it for a while. Um, so things not coming out the way I wanted them to, I ended up just doing it myself, which gave me that time to digest what was wrong and what wasn't coming out right with the other authors, the
Mm-hmm.
co-authors. Um, and it worked. There isn't anything in the book that I wished I hadn't have said or did say, and wish I would have said more of. I'm happy with it. People ask me a lot of questions about things, like, for instance, the Tony Iommi
Right.
incident. Am I sorry I said that? No, I'm not sorry because it hurt me just as much as it hurt people to read about it. They were obviously into the book when they read it. I was the one that got the butt end of the stick on that. So I still think he's an amazing guitar player. It doesn't take that away from me. He's my idol. I still idolize his music. Doesn't take that away. But
Right. And for people that haven't read the book, the charge in the book is that he physically abused you.
yeah,
Yeah. Have you heard from him or anybody in his camp about that?
uh, no. And we actually reached out to him to try to let him know what we were going to do and say. And the book is coming out. And he just said, well, we were all on drugs then. Basically,
That's been his response to it.
yeah,
To you
yeah.
privately, or has any? I don't know. I haven't talked to him since the book came out, but has he done interviews where he's addressed it and people have brought it up to him, or and that's
People
what you
have,
heard?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. We were all on drugs then, and he more so than anybody. I mean, if you read the book, you'll see what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not innocent. I was doing drugs too, but not in the mass quantities that he was almost on Elvis Presley level, which was insane. Just mass quantities, doctors and people you could just pick up the phone and say, can I have an injection of this? Can I have a jar full of these? Not a bottle, but a jar. Just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff I'm sure he's cleaned up now and he's not that person
He probably
anymore.
wouldn't be alive if he was still at that level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
But I mean, for
sure.
you, that was just had to be such an incredible, like, jarring situation because, as you talk about in the book, he was your hero.
Yeah,
Like Tony Iommi was your, that was the game changing experience for you seeing Sabbath, right?
it was.
Here, it was here in L.A., right?
He was my idol from the first second I laid eyes on him. Was 1972 at the Long Beach Arena here in just down the street, really an hour from here, in Los Angeles, just outside of Los
Is it
Angeles.
still there, by the way?
It's closed down, but it's still there.
The structure's still there.
They don't have concerts anymore. It's such a shame.
Right.
But the structure's still there, and it's beautiful. It's all painted on the outside with whales and ocean stuff. But
That was your first concert, though? Was
that
that?
was my very, very first concert I went to, and it changed my life. And I absolutely idolized Tony and the music that was coming off the stage, the power that was coming off the stage, and these dark figures and dressed in black with the crosses. And that's all you could really see was this mass quantity of hair and black clothes and these gold crosses that just glistened in the lights. They were such a powerful band. People were diving off the rafters onto the stage. They were leaping off the rafters behind the stage, down onto the stage. I mean, it was all hell was breaking loose, but it changed my life. And I figured out that's what I want to do. And it just so happened that I had a top 10 hit single with Ozzy, and I became engaged to Tony Iommi. It's really,
when you think about that, that's just crazy.
it's crazy.
That's crazy. Your first concert, and you end up being engaged. What year were you engaged to Tony Iommi?
80, I believe it was 82.
So 10 years later,
Yeah.
from your first ever concert, you're engaged to the guy you were watching that set you on your path that you were completely consumed with.
But he wasn't the guy I thought he was.
Right.
You know, he wasn't this
He may have been in
God.
72.
He may have been.
But after 10 years of
Yeah.
you probably got a very different person at that point because of of 10 years of a lot of excess, I'm sure.
I became God, what's the word I'm looking for? Destructive when I found out what kind of person he was. I wanted to hurt myself. And
Not him, you.
I wanted to hurt myself. And what I did was, and I don't know if this is considered hurting yourself, I started drinking because he never allowed me to drink. Although he would do mass quantities of drugs, he would never allow me to have a drink.
Did he want you to do drugs with him?
Yeah, they were there if I wanted them. He never really forced them on me. But
that was okay, but alcohol was not.
Right.
What was that about?
I don't know. It was very bizarre. He just really did not want me, even on airplanes. You know, when you're sitting on a plane, you like to have a glass of wine or a Bloody Mary or just something to take the edge off because you're 30,000 feet in the air for 5 hours
Right.
or 10 hours flying overseas. But I couldn't. So when we split, we went our separate ways. I went on a drinking binge just to say, you know, you won't let me do it. I'm going to go do it now since you're not around. I'm going to hurt myself. And I ended up getting this tattoo of this dragon on my shoulder. I don't know why. It was a hurt me kind of thing. I want to hurt myself because I was devastated when I found out what kind of person he was. I was absolutely devastated.
Yeah, so, that would be shattering because he was your hero.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it really was. And I think it's shattering to a lot of fans that read the book. They feel the same way I did. But I was in those shoes. And when they read about that, they're like shocked. You know,
do you buy his explanation of the drugs? Because if he was doing drugs in the quantities you're saying, I imagine that could really derange somebody and make them do some crazy stuff. So are you comfortable with that as an explanation?
Part of it.
Part of it.
Yeah. I think part of it. I think it's something that is in his family or was in his family. I don't believe his mother and father are still alive. And I think his father might have contributed to that. And then the drugs on top of it just makes you violent.
Yeah.
Makes you out of your mind.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, it depends on what you take or what you're doing, but a combination of a certain type of drug will make you violent.
Joe from Pittsburgh. Joe, what's going on, buddy?
How you doing, Eddie? It's great to hear you again, man.
You too, man. Been too long. How are you, man?
Dude, yeah, it's been great, and I'm looking forward to joining you on my birthday for the March of Rock again.
We'll see you in February.
And, damn right, brother. And also, I was at Lemmy's memorial. I wanted to get that out of the way. It was fun but sad. And what else? Oh, yes. Did you ever hear that Jim Gillette and Opie and Anthony interview with son James Gillette?
No.
I was appalled.
Well, hold on a second, Joe. How long ago was that?
I think it was about a year ago.
James meaning
James
Lita's,
Gillette,
the son?
Lita's son, yeah.
He's really young, isn't he? Like 10 or something?
He's like 19 now.
He is?
Yeah, he's like 19 now. I think Rocco's the youngest. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, so they were on talking about what?
They were talking about Lita very harshly.
Well, it's no secret, Joe, and thanks for your call, Joe, and always good to hear from you, buddy. Um, it's no secret that that was a horrendous divorce and that Jim Gillette has custody of their kids, which is a very unprecedented thing to happen in a divorce, that the kids go to the dad instead of the mom. That hurt Lita very badly. Lita feels that that those kids were brainwashed against her by their dad. And again, listen, when stuff like this happens, that's personal stuff. I don't know what really went on. Lita is a friend. I wish her the best. She'll always be a friend. And it's very sad. And she's had a hard time dealing with it. She's been public about what she's gone through. She's been estranged from her own children. But I can't speak for what they may or may not have said. And I did not hear that interview. But I find that interesting that they would go on there. I'm going to look that up. Matter of fact, I hope he just walked